Hi, my name's Odalyn. If you've ever felt stabbed in the back by the folks who brought you up, not deceived by outsiders, but wiped clean by your own mom right there in a courtroom, you'll get why I didn't even blink when she struck me. By that point, she'd already stripped away all the rest. They faked my autograph. They unloaded the home that was meant for me. They ensured the entire community kept their mouths shut. What they couldn't foresee was that Grandpa had handed me the facts, and I'm finished concealing them. That day, I stepped into the Cook County Courthouse clutching a probate alert I'd gotten by accident. I wasn't supposed to learn about the session. From the rear seats, I observed the advisor. Shoes tapping sharply, expressions keen, not one look my way, my mother in her dark blue jacket, my father following like a wordless ghost. As the testament was recited, my name surfaced, just as an observer. Next came the sheet. This file contains the mark of Odalyn Reyes for confirmation. The official announced. I hadn't put my name on it. The magistrate inquired, "Is this your mark?" "No, Your Honor," I replied. My mother let out a harsh breath. "Oh, enough, I never put it there," I stated more firmly. The space went still. Then her hand whipped across my face. Murmurs spreading across the chamber. "You won't destroy this," she whispered fiercely. But she had no clue. This wasn't the moment I shattered. This was the instant I began to dismantle the deception. I wish I could claim that blow was the initial time my mother shamed me publicly. It wasn't anywhere near that. As a kid, I was the child they never presented at gatherings. During celebrations, I hauled my own portable seat since I was aware they wouldn't prepare a spot for me. If locals inquired about me, my mother would grin and remark, "She's still sorting herself out," as if I were an incomplete endeavor she wished she'd abandoned. All the while, my sibling Odalyn received it all. Lifts to university visits, assistance with housing costs, a starter fund for her apartment. I covered my own lodging fees ahead of time, saved every record, and was still labeled selfish. The harshest bit, I lingered, not from frailty but because Grandpa remained. He alone recognized me. At 15, he passed me a basic silver barrette, murmured, "Every board you gripped for me, every awful pastry shell you attempted, you merited this residence." It was the sole vow I trusted. Yet once he departed, the dynamic altered swiftly. They ceased summoning me. Messages went ignored. If I arrived, I heard the moment wasn't right. And when the listing appeared on Grandpa's yard, nobody thought to inform me. So when I spotted my fabricated mark in that legal hall, it wasn't merely official deceit. It was the ultimate push from a kin group I'd been holding onto with my nails. What they overlooked was that Grandpa had bequeathed me an item they couldn't imitate, and it was poised to return to me. That evening, I returned to my third-story stairwell apartment in Pilsen, the echoes of the trial still ringing in my head. No outreach, no regrets, merely the drone of my cooler. I placed Grandpa's barrette on the basin. Its metal faded from age and gazed at the etching within. A small 12. He'd once explained that was my fortunate period. The season I twalled more than any grown-up on the property. I didn't realize then, it would become the figure I'd employ to expose a falsehood years on. A rap yanked me from the recollection. It was Mr. Avilo, Grandpa's adjacent resident for more than 3 decades. In his grasp, a container of rosy, crumb-topped pastries and a yellowish envelope frayed at the corners. "Your grandfather instructed me to safeguard this," he noted. "Said I'd recognize the moment to pass it to you." Within lay a note from 6 weeks prior to Grandpa's passing. "Odalyn, if you're seeing this, it signifies they followed my dread. I revised the bequest. The property belongs to you. The forms are beneath the compartment in the office with the ancient property records. Don't allow them to smother the reality." I clutched the sheet until my fingers blanched. An individual had entered that office and extracted over just the records. The following dawn, I sifted through my personal records, agreements, financial logs, even a dated school pass, all bearing Odalyn J. Reyes. The falsified legal paper employed they scarcely knew me enough to mimic my name accurately. It ought to have amused me. Rather, it chilled me. By midday, I was at the Cook County Estate Division. Official Morrison pushed the bequest toward me. My fabricated mark appeared once more. Identical incorrect central letter. But what halted me was the seal from the certifier. Marked 3 weeks post-Grandpa's burial. They hadn't merely omitted me. They'd endorsed for a departed soul. I departed wordlessly. Yet the blaze in my torso was beyond mere sorrow. It was determination. And then, amid a mug of brew in a serene eatery, a figure from my history provided the initial fragment of validation that would fracture my relatives. The cafe carried the aroma of scorched bread and stale brew, identical to my school days. I was midway through my initial gulp when a tone declared, "Odalyn, is that really you?" It was Gwen. Identical team hat. Identical swift grin. We divided a semester on past events and little beyond. But she recalled me. She pushed a mug over the surface before I responded. I viewed the footage she uttered, dropping her pitch. That strike. That had nothing to do with the bequest. I creased my brow. Then what did it concern? She aimed to reinforce for all who you represent. The reserved one, the one who yields. I swirled my brew, but her phrases adhered to me like haze. Reserved didn't equate to helpless. Not any longer. Upon reaching home, I discovered Aunt Marcia's contact flashing on my device. We hadn't conversed since the burial. Her tone blended grit and kindness in equal measure. I observed the session, she declared. I sensed it prior to their submission. You were never their preferred, but you were forever the backbone. Then delivered the impact. She possessed a digital copy of Grandpa's arrangement. My name noted as the lone recipient, endorsed and observed prior to his exit. Why hold back from me? I questioned. Since he believed they'd respect it, she replied. He erred. I output the copy and affixed it over my workspace. Underneath, I inscribed in dark script. He relied on me to uphold the facts. The subsequent day, I encountered Miriam, an estate official who'd been acquainted since I was 12. She permitted me to align the arrangement Marcia forwarded with the formal bequest archived. The script on Grandpa's mark mismatched. His angle consistently tilted skyward. This pulled level, artificial. Then Miriam inclined nearer. This entered via the recorder's private route. Not the open line. That doesn't occur casually. An internal scheme. An insider in the mechanism had aided them in rephrasing my grandfather's final declarations. I exited with duplicates of data trails, time marks, and a fresh intensity coursing through me. They figured this remained a household conflict. They failed to grasp it had evolved into unlawful. And the initial individual I challenged with the findings wasn't an attorney. It was my sibling, positioned in my dwelling as if it were hers. I didn't catch the lock click. I simply sensed the atmosphere alter as Celine entered my space unannounced. High-end footwear on the stool, gaze sweeping the piles of papers on my surface. You still residing in this cramped box? She sneered. And you still intruding spots that aren't yours? I countered. Her focus settled on the binder. I'm present to rescue you from your folly. No, I stated. You're present out of fear. She folded her limbs. You truly suppose anyone will credit some faded outline from a resentful relative? The tribunal already cleared the bequest. I advanced nearer. I've examined the data trails. The certifier mark follows Grandpa's passing. For an instant, she recoiled. Then the sneer resurfaced. Should you pursue this path, don't anticipate the kin to join. They were never alongside me, I noted. Her tone grew edged. Grandpa claimed you were overly sentimental to manage anything vital. I held steady. Then why was he murmuring my name in his final days when he assumed none could overhear? Her stare wavered, only briefly. Then she departed sans further utterance. The dawn after, I composed a 10-sheet declaration. Each irregularity, each timestamp, each bogus official warning they'd dispatched. I fastened digital copies of the fabricated files, data entries, and the authentic arrangement. At the stroke of 12, I forwarded it to the tribunal's protected network, duplicating the estate magistrate, the moral oversight panel, and Nolan's firm. By sunrise, the chamber's display illuminated with my declaration. Each sheet endorsed, confirmed, irrefutable. The magistrate scanned the variances, data alterations, monetary pressure, endorsements post-passing, and mandated a complete halt to the holdings. Celine leaped from her position. This is chaos. The magistrate spared her no glance. Resume your seat or face disdain. I remained silent, for my task was complete. The verdict that session didn't merely alter the matter. It transformed my self-view in the glass upon returning home. A month hence, the decision landed in an ordinary wrapper. The fabricated bequest declared invalid. Grandpa's initial arrangement restored. My name, exclusive heir, without ceremony, without remorse. Simply the reality documented. That identical afternoon, another wrapper eased beneath my entry. Absent sender. Within, a note bearing a painted scene of evergreens. Apologies for all of it. They ought never to have involved you. No mark, yet the subtle trace of Nolan's fragrance revealed plenty. I refrained from reaching out. I skipped replying. Certain thresholds remained sealed purposefully. As I turned the key to Grandpa's home after years, the scent evoked citrus polish and particles, as if it had paused its respiration. In the galley, behind a shifted board, I uncovered an aged missive directed to Celine, penned in Grandpa's script. She was never unseen. You merely ceased observing. I shed no tears. I claimed nothing further from the dwelling. The missive sufficed. Days on, I transferred portion of the holdings to a justice support group, designated for females battling disputed legacy disputes. The balance I retained, not for retribution, but to refurbish the dwelling chamber after chamber. Not as a shrine to loss, but as a foundation for another who requires a secure veranda to occupy. One dusk, I lingered on that veranda, observing the avenue pulse beneath. In the pain's echo, I no longer viewed the reserved youth from the legal hall. I beheld one who had surpassed their reticence. I never received their regret, but I acquired superior evidence. I was never the issue. If you've ever been omitted by your own kin, let this serve as your cue. Restraint isn't endurance. The reality requires no approval from them to voice itself. Have you ever battled for an item your relatives claimed you lacked merit for? Share in the replies, for if you've endured it, you're far from solitary.